So
Hearing
just to
two.
speed up, right, just to speed up the process, it appears to me that we're going to have a reset today. Um, and it also appears to me that that reset may be contested when we get to court. So
Okay.
you may want to look for some time. Also, they're requesting, and of course, I have no objection towards you having a discussion with the child prior to entering Zoom, and so
Did
we'll
you
have to set that up as well.
did you say on
I'm
Zoom?
sorry.
Did you say on Zoom?
Well, I think that's the only way we can probably do it, but yes.
Okay. Where is she now?
She is with Dad in Colleen, I think.
Okay.
And we can coordinate that, but I just want to let you know.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Wood, Ms. Miller, Mr. Howard told me while y'all were in the breakout room, you think we're going to need to do a reset? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else we need to talk about while everybody's here and here? Because we'll go to the breakout room and talk about reset dates.
I think there were a couple of other requests while we were in the other room of Adrian. First of all, we're going to reset primarily so that Casa can do their investigation.
Okay.
And also for the child to talk to the court.
Okay.
Which I believe that Mr. Howard has agreed on. Adrian will do drug testing as requested during the reset period, but I believe that Mr. Hale and everyone is asking for a hair strand test as well.
Okay.
And then for mom to be re-enrolled in therapy with Sherlyn Lane.
Is that the therapist that she's going to in the other case?
Yes. And evidently, we got Miss Milloway on the phone, and Miss Milloway is saying that Adrian was discharged for not attending, but then Miss Vogel says that she went to the meeting, she went to the visit and there was no one there. So I think we just need to get her re-enrolled.
Okay.
And then also visitation. I know there's a visit set up today, supervised in Lampasas. Miss Vogel is fine with that. She will be there. She'll provide her own transportation. And so we just like for that.
Is that with the baby?
No, that's with Abby.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
She does her baby visitation directly with the placement, correct?
That's right. I forgot. You're right. Okay.
And so we just like for that visitation to continue a minimum of 1 time a week for an hour. If it's in Lampasas, Adrian she can provide her own transportation, but due to gas, she's doubtful that she can make it more than 1 time a week. I know the child wants more than 1 time a week. So if the child can be transported to Mills County, or if there's another agreeable location, we would request that, but Adrian will commit to making it to Lampasas 1 time a week for an hour supervised.
What type of visitation was Miss Vogel having with Abby prior to all this stuff starting, Miss Miller?
I'll need to let her speak to that. So, Ms. Vogel, if you could unmute yourself and tell me prior to all of this taking place, what was your visitation with Abby?
My visitation with Abby, Randy would not let me see her alone. He would only let me do a supervised visit with Sarah or my parents. He basically treated her visitation the way that I had visitation with Emma.
So how often were you getting to see her?
I tried, at least once a week, but sometimes my parents would be able to get her and bring her down and I would get to see her. But it was normally about once a week. Sometimes it would be up to 2 weeks if he wasn't cooperating with some of the members that he deemed appropriate to let supervise visitation.
Okay, so your parents could transport her for visitation during this reset period?
Yeah, they would. They can and they would. Yes.
Okay, and then what about the placement for Emma? Would she be willing to help facilitate visitation with you and Abby?
Absolutely, she would. She's already offered, and Randy told her no, and he said she wasn't allowed at her house.
Okay, so visitation. So Sarah or your parents could facilitate additional visitation along with the 1 hour CPS visitation.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anybody have any questions, Ms. Vogel?
I don't.
No, I have a question. Ms. Vogel, are you and Mr. Cavazos, do y'all have any type of custody agreement, court order, anything between y'all?
Yes, we do. I am the custodial parent. He's non-custodial. He has standard visitation.
Okay.
And I think that's a Mills County AG order, Your Honor, that we'll
Okay.
need to consolidate into this case.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna do that until we have the adversary hearing, but I was, Mr. Cavazos and Miss Adrian, if y'all can get that order and circulate it, give it to your lawyers and also give it to CPS, that would be great.
I have a copy and I did offer it to Kelly with CPS. I had everything ready to go. So I do have a copy. I have a certified copy or a, what do they call? I got the clerks at the courthouse.
Certified.
Okay.
Right.
So could you, Adrian, could you get that to the investigator even though she didn't want a copy?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It would be nice, and I mean, if anytime there's any court orders involved in any of our cases, CPS needs to have a copy of those orders in their files. I mean, number one, you need to know where the prior case is out of. Number two, you need to see the court order because, I mean, no offense, parents, and I'm not talking about y'all, but we have a lot of other cases. Just because parents say it's so, don't mean it's so, you know? So everybody needs to see the court order. And three, sometimes court orders have been modified. So that might not be the last order that people are working under. And y'all department needs to look at, or maybe go to the clerk, call the county clerk, district clerk, and see what order we're working under to make sure that everything's correct. So anyway, that's that information for the day. Okay. Anything else from you, Ms. Miller?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wood, y'all need anything?
So we discussed visits one time a week for 1 hour, and then Emily was talking about additional visits. I mean, we're talking for 2 weeks. I just want clarity for my client's sake. And also, I believe that Mom gave Abigail a phone, and that's kind of how they were communicating. Do you have any description or rules on that phone and what needs to happen with that? I mean, that's how she left his house without him knowing, was because of the phone.
Let me. Dad didn't know that she had a phone.
Dad knew she had a phone, but he didn't know she was leaving, and she just left.
Okay. Okay, let me put that in my inbox. I'll think about that. Yeah, I'll have something, but hold on just a second. Casa, what do y'all need today?
I think we are in agreement with the reset on the adversary. We have our volunteer Jane Taubert. Her Zoom's not working right now, so I'm speaking for her. She's been texting me, but she is going to go see the child next week, hopefully with the caseworker, Miss Maria, and then we'll have a little bit more information to go off of then.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hale, I'm sorry. Before I get to Mr. Howard, what do y'all need today from the department?
Basically, I think we're in agreement with the reset, and of course, placement's going to stay the same with that until the reset.
Okay.
Subject to these other terms. Just one more matter of kind of housekeeping. This case was actually filed under the same case number as the other case, and the clerk, I think, assigned the prior case as an A, and this one is a B. So, just as a matter of the case number on it.
I think this one needs its own cause number because of, I think, yeah, because when I was reading that out, I thought, man, this sort of sounds familiar, like a case we had last week.
Yeah, well, it's given another number, but it's B. I mean, it's 06B. The other one is now 06A.
So this is B. Okay.
And I assume at some point in time, they'll probably be consolidated. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
We'd certainly be
Yeah.
fine with
I don't
that.
either. Huh?
We'd certainly be fine with that when the time is right.
Okay, well, I'll think about that one. Mr. Howard, what do you need? Talk to me about visits and phone also.
So Abby is 11-year-old, about to be 12-year-old. She's very certain about what she wants, and over the last year, I've become an expert in 12-year-old girls. She's not a 12-year-old girl. Really, the things that are important to me at this point, one, if there's a way to bring Emma into the visits with the placement and all of that, I know Abigail's expressed she'd like to see her little sister. And if they're close, I mean, I'll let mom work on that and CPS work on that, but I would love, because for that to happen, I'm not sure Abby has seen Emma since that case started. Maybe one of the visits, I don't know, but that's something she's expressed and something I told her I'm going to try to make happen. So, and I'm not sure why we can't make that happen, especially if we're coming this way for some of the visits. So that's important to me. Is also whether she's going to be in Killeen or in Goldthwaite or somewhere else, I'd like to get her into her own therapy ASAP. And so I'm not saying that we have to have that started, but I'd like for us to start working on that. I think that's really important. I know even before I was appointed to Abby in the previous case with Emma, I expressed, listen, if we can help this little girl get therapy, that would be great. Now we can. So I'd like for that to be moving ASAP. You know, as far as the phone goes, I mean, she's 11. She's, I'm sure she's not going to respond very favorably to having her phone taken away. I do think it may be appropriate to limit the discussions with her mom, at least for the next 2 weeks, so we can get in here. But I don't really have an opinion on that otherwise.
She's 11, and I'm concerned about pulling her out of school a lot for visitation. What do you think about all that and requests and more visitation other than the one time a week, Mr. Howard?
I think she's 11. She's going to want to see her mom as often as possible. I can tell you, I can express what her opinion is very clearly. She's moved schools a lot. She's been back and forth a lot recently. I'm not sure that more going back and forth is going to really change much of the status quo. And so now, of course, if those visits can work on the weekends, we especially if we have somebody else that we're okay supervising them, then that makes that process easier.
Okay. Help me here, Mr. Howard. Was there a question about the maternal grandparents supervising the visits or being involved in Emma's case?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I was actually thinking about that earlier because Abigail expressed about them as well. Maria is here. She might be able to answer that question better. I know at one point that they were considered for placement and it just didn't work out. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what the issues there were. Now, placement would be, I can't imagine there'd be an issue with placement supervising them, though. A placement of Emma.
Remind me, remember the lady, I remember seeing her in court last week, but remind me where Emma's placement lives, Mr. Howard.
Oh, good question. She's local. Adrian, can you help me with that? I forgot. Copper's Cove.
She lives in Copper's Cove. Yes, sir. She's
Thank you. I was going to say Llano, and I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah, no.
I don't think she's in Llano.
Thank goodness. That's even further. Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yes, sir.
Not that I know everybody in Llano, but I know a lot of them, so that's okay. Yeah, and that would have clicked on me probably. Okay, Copper's Cove. And Abby and Mr. Cavazos live in Killeen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Wood, I'm going to ask Mr. Cavazos a couple questions about the phone, okay? Okay, Mr. Cavazos, tell me about what are your rules about cell phones for children in your home?
Well, she had full access to her phone before she got abducted on Sunday. When she got back on Wednesday, I took her phone because CPS said I should take her phone because it aided for her to leave the house undetected and her mom taking her. Right, so she hasn't had it since then.
Okay, but prior to all this,
she had full access to her phone.
Yeah, full access, 24/7. How does that?
Yeah, her mother got her phone for her. She talked to her mom whenever she wanted, to her little friends whenever she wanted, FaceTime with them. It was basically her phone.
Okay. Did she take it to bed with her?
Yeah, she set an alarm to wake up. She would wake up to the phone, and yeah, now I gave her an old alarm clock and she uses that now.
Okay.
And I gave her an older tablet too, so she has her games and stuff on there. She just doesn't have access to the phone.
Okay. What kind of grades does she make? Does she have chores around the house? That kind of stuff.
She makes average grades, and there hasn't been like the other judge or the lawyer said that back and forth. Abby has been in Killeen school since August, since the beginning of the year. She's
Okay.
been abducted twice, and they try to enroll her over there. She's missed like 2 or 3 days because of these things.
Okay.
But basically, she's been in Killeen school
Okay.
all year.
And you said she makes average grades?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, she does.
What grade is she in?
She's in 5th grade, ma'am,
Okay.
in Pershing Park.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Okay. Let me write about the phone.
Ma'am, may I add something about the phone and what happened?
If Miss Miller will let you talk, Miss Vocal.
Okay.
Miss Miller.
Is it important as to whether she keeps the phone in the future rather than what's
Yeah.
happened in the past? Okay, go ahead.
The night that we picked her up, I did take the Killeen Police Department, and they knocked on the door 3 times to make contact with Randy, and I did not leave until I attempted many times to make contact with him, with the police department. So she didn't just use her phone. Yeah. Thank you.
Who is we, Miss Vocal?
I had my dad with me.
Can I say something?
I'm not going to get into a back and
Randy,
forth.
okay.
So,
My doorbell works. There was no cops. There was no father. And I didn't see nobody.
okay. Everybody's going to get the opportunity to talk about this when we have adversary hearing, so don't worry about that.
Yes, I called 911. I mean,
When was the last time, Miss Vocal, that you saw Abby?
Sorry, I had to unmute. The last time I saw her was Wednesday
Okay.
of last week, almost a week ago.
Okay. Okay. Y'all said Lano, and I wrote Lano on the docket sheet when I'm talking about business. That is not, I meant land passes. Okay, see. Okay. We're going to go into a breakout room with the lawyers in Casa and work on our reset dates. Number one, we're not going to do that when we're on YouTube when everybody would know our calendars. But I will agree to reset the adversary hearing. Lawyers, if I mean, we're going to talk about our calendars, and I don't think this is going to be a problem. But if the reset date is a little bit after the 14 days required by statute, are y'all okay with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. I don't think that's going to be possible. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but hold on. The jail's calling me. Hold on just a second. Ms. Vocal is to continue to drug test for CPS. She's supposed to already be doing that under Emma's case anyway, so I really shouldn't have to talk about that. I'm going to ask that Ms. Vocal have okay. Did I was getting ready to talk about hair strand, but Ms. Vocal, have you dyed your hair?
It's been months. I put highlights in because I've got grays just everywhere, but it's been months.
Okay.
It's been probably a month and a half to 2 months. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Hair strand by noon tomorrow as directed by the department. Miss Vocal is to be re-enrolled in individual therapy with Miss Sherilyn Lane. She's to have Miss Vocal, to have no appointments. You can visit with Abby as arranged by CPS and items to include Emma, if that can be arranged. You can visit for 1 time per week at the CPS office and land passes for an hour and a half. You can also visit one Saturday, either this Saturday or next Saturday, supervised by Emma's placement. And placement must be within ear distance of all times with you and Abby. The date, either this Saturday or next Saturday, is as arranged by Emma's placement, CPS and items, and that visit can be for 4 hours. Miss Adrian can talk to Abby on the phone, but it is to be supervised. And that includes texting, emailing, all the contact with mom right now is to be supervised until we get to the bottom of this. Mr. Cavazos, I really like kids to not have their phones after like 9 o'clock on a school night.
Yes, ma'am.
Go on.
Can she do all that on my phone? Can she call her mom, text her mom on my phone, and just give her mom back her phone when we see her today?
Well, I think I'm not gonna worry about that right now. I'm just gonna let her use her phone for right now. But here's what I'm gonna say. Phone to dad at 9 p.m. school days and 11 p.m. That's kind of late, isn't it? 10 p.m. weekdays, weekends.
The thing with that, ma'am, is that I'm not always home to supervise the phone calls or the texts. So should I just collect it when I go to work?
He has his parents live with him. I think they could take care of that. Don't you think your parents could take care of that, Randy?
Well, my mother's mainly Spanish speaking, and she doesn't follow that quickly what's being said in English. But I mean, she's not going to have contact with her mother. I mean, I'm here quite a bit.
Right. Well, and
we'd be fine with it being I'm sorry, we'd be fine with it being supervised by either of the. I think Mr. Cavaz, yeah, he does live with his parents, so we'd be fine with either of the parents supervising.
Well, and the deal is, if I tell her no, hey, you only got to use dad's phone. Kids are smarter than us in these sneaky ways. They're going to find a way. They're going to use their friend's phone or their neighbor. I mean, something's going to happen. So, there's just really no way to prohibit it. So I don't care if Mr. Cavaz is supervised or the grandparents supervised, but Ms. Vogel, there better not be, we can get cell phone records. We can get all that. There better not be any, I'm going to apply the Children's Bill of Rights to this case also. Lawyers, y'all can explain that to your clients. But there better not be any deleted text conversations or anything like that.
I suggest you put that in your order. Maybe dad could say, hey, you can't delete your history, you can't delete your text messages, and then she can blame you and all. Mr. Cavazos.
Okay, no deleted text messages, emails. What's the other thing you said, Mr. Howard?
History. Search history.
Social media.
History.
Communications.
Judge Mabray, they do have parenting apps that he could put on the phone, and then he could monitor search history and also put a block that automatically goes on. So if he sets a time frame, then she wouldn't be able to use her phone like after 9 o'clock until 6 o'clock. The alarm would still sound if he wants it for that, but there are apps that he could use.
I barely got him on Zoom, Judge. I mean, I think I would have to really help out with that. And for 2 weeks, I think we can probably just make something work.
Okay. Well, I think that's a great idea, Ms. Hayden. Let's look into that and see what we can figure out. I mean, y'all tell me, I've never used it because it came after I became judge, that app close deal that a lot of y'all use in family law stuff. Maybe that's something we can use. But okay, so what I added is Children's Bill of Rights, no deleted text messages, emails, social media communications, history, etc.
Facebook Messenger for kids. He can use his Facebook Messenger and he will see all to sign her up for her own Facebook Messenger for kids. And then he will see all communication between her and I. We could do something like that.
My daughter's not much of a writer. She doesn't text. So it's all going to be verbal.
Okay. Well, I mean.
So it's going to be a verbal phone call that got her out of this house. It's going to be a verbal. Yeah. Like, I mean, the texting it's not a problem or an issue.
Well, the phone calls are to be supervised. So however that happens, and so over here, there's any unsupervised phone calls, that's not going to be good either. So, okay. Y'all stay here. Ever CPS parents, y'all stay here while we go to breakout room and look at our calendars. If y'all have any huge days that you're not going to be available, text them to your lawyer right now. Otherwise, we're just going to reset the adversary hearing. So let's go to lawyers. Let's go to breakout room. Ms. Milbauer, I'm sure I pronounced your name wrong. I'm sorry. I'm awful with names. You had your hand raised while I was going in the breakout room. I didn't see it. So what do you need, ma'am?
You pronounced it correctly, Your Honor. My unit, unfortunately, we do not work on Mondays. We work 4/10s. So if court is held on Mondays,
let me write that down. I doubt it would be a Monday, just because I have court all day Mondays, but Monday's coming up. But thank you for letting me know. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Actually, I was thinking maybe, well, we got to do a hair strain test, so we'll see. Okay, Ms. Miller, we're going back to the breakout room. We have worked on our calendars, and this case is agreed to be reset till Friday, the 9th of February, 9:30 to 12:30. The lawyers and Casa have agreed that it can be held via Zoom. We did add that mom is to either hair strand or nail test as requested by the department, because she has another pending case and she's not supposed to dye, bleach, etc. her hair. And also the orders in that case say you're supposed to keep your fingernails at least a quarter thick and no acrylics, no fake nails, etc. So she ought to be able to provide both tests. And department, I mean, I prefer a nail test, but y'all can do a hair strand if you'd like. CPS is to transport mom to do that by noon tomorrow. And hopefully the results will be back by the 9th of February. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Milbauer? You're muted.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. In order for us to get the nail test, we do need a written court order from you.
Mr. Hale has those orders. They can email it to me. They can fill it out and email it to me today, and I'll sign it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, anybody need anything else?
Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk briefly afterwards about the visit with child?
Yes. Okay. Everybody else other than me and Mr. Howard and Casa are excused, and Miss Trinidad go off of Zoom and YouTube and all that.
2,000 years later.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hale, you may begin.
Oh, Adrian Vocal.
Okay. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd ask for brief opening statements.
Okay, Mr. Hale, what do you want to say real quick?
I don't have any opening statement.
Okay. Ms. Miller, do you?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Your Honor, before we proceed today, I would like for the court to consider a few factors. First of all, this court is being used by somebody who is not indigent. I endeavored to get a copy of Mr. Cavazos's affidavit of indigency prior to today and couldn't get a copy of that. But he could have filed suit in this matter months ago and probably had much better grounds than he does today. He has a job. He's not indigent. He lives with his mama and his daddy. He could have hired any number of excellent attorneys over in his area, but didn't, and chose to call CPS for his personal benefit after the child was, after Ms. Vocal asserted her rights under a lawful court order, which CPS had no interest in looking at and was offered the opportunity to view multiple times. So we're dealing with a parent who's not indigent, who has hijacked your courtroom for his personal benefit. And nothing happened here other than a parent exercising her rights under a lawful court order. I think that you'll find that the affidavit contains nothing but hearsay and is not based on personal knowledge. There were numerous opportunities for the agency to fulfill their obligation to conduct a thorough investigation. They were begged to conduct an investigation, but didn't. They didn't look into the court order. They didn't conduct drug testing. All of the statements in the affidavit are based on hearsay, and there was no immediate danger to the child. There is no immediate danger today. Of course, that's the standard, not what somebody wants or what somebody likes. But there's no immediate to the danger of the child. And there were zero reasonable efforts made. Nothing in the affidavit under the reasonable efforts section contains anything but hearsay. So I'd like to move forward on those grounds, but those are some things I'd like for the court to keep in mind as we progress.
Okay, I wrote down 7 different items, Ms. Miller, so I have those that I will keep in mind and maybe ask some questions about, just depending on how the testimony goes. So thank you.
Thank you,
bringing that up. I don't have marked on my file. Now, granted, I've had this file for a while, but does anybody, did Miss Vocal or Mr. Cavazos do an application, fill out their application for court appointed attorney?
Yes, Judge. I circulated and gave it to you. I had the same problems Emily had in filing into this case because the lettering was not clear whether it was an A, B, no letter. I sent it to the clerk's office and asked her if she could file it. I didn't hear anything back, but I think you were sent a copy to review of his attorney voucher.
Let me look. What about Mom, Miss Miller?
We don't have any new facts from the affidavit of indigency in the prior case, and we'll recirculate that. We can't file into this case. We couldn't file into this case, and we will refile that into this case.
Okay. Well, she has a job now. I don't think she had a job when she filled out the first one.
And we'll update with those facts.
I'm looking, Marcus. I don't know. And Helga, do you have it?
Not judged.
Excuse me?
No, ma'am.
I remember sort of seeing something about that, but I don't know. You would have been it would have come from you, right, Mr. Wood?
Yes, Judge. I think I sent it to Shawnee Martinez at Mills County and said we couldn't file it in, but I thought I sent it to you.
I know.
I can forward it right now.
Yeah, send it again because I'm putting in vocal, I'm putting in Marcus Wood, I'm putting in Cavazos, see what I can come up with that one. Okay, any opening statement, Mr. Wood?
Judge, this is a case where my client that I've met is willing to see his daughter, keep his daughter, has been keeping his daughter, has a steady job, has complied with everything I've asked him to do under these facts. And, you know, for the entire life of this child, has steadily had visits with the child, is current and paid up on child support. And, you know, wants a relationship with his daughter and is offering a safe and stable environment for her. And that's what we present there in the affidavit. There are multiple allegations in there. Not all of them are glowing to my client either. And we would dispute some of those facts presented in the affidavit as well. But I do think there's some concerning questions about mental health and drug use. And I don't know if those facts are clear based on what I've seen. So my client's here and ready to do what is in the best interest of this child.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Howard, anything?
I'll just state that I think I have a duty and an obligation, and I think the court knows this, but Abigail is 11, almost 12. She very much wants to go home, and if she can't, she wants to have as much access and visits with her mom and her extended family in the area. But she also doesn't express any immediate safety health concerns in her dad's placement.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hale, you called Ms. Vocal? She's been
Yes.
sworn. Yes, she's been sworn.
And where do you live?
I live at 714 Hutchins Street in Goldthwaite, Texas.
Are you married?
I am married currently. We are separated.
So what's your husband's name?
Louis Edward Vocal.
Have you been
The
married
third.
before?
I have a previous marriage. It was when I was much younger. I do have a previous marriage.
To someone who's not relevant to this case, correct?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Do you have any children?
I have 2 children.
How old are they?
Abby is 11. She'll be 12 in April, and Emma is 7 months.
And who are their fathers?
Randy Cavazos is Abigail's father, and Louis Edward Vogel is Emma's father.
You and Randy Cavazos were never married?
No, sir. No,
So
sir.
there's not any formal, obviously there wouldn't be a divorce decree or any kind of formal separation agreement or anything like that between the two of you?
No, sir. There's no divorce or decree or anything like that.
No court proceedings anyway?
For our separation, no.
Okay. Are those the only marriages you've had, just the 2 that you indicated?
Yes, sir.
And you don't have any other children other than those 2?
No, sir. Besides my stepchildren, I don't know if that counts.
Mr. Vocal's children?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you recall in August of 2023, some incidents that occurred here in Goldthwaite that resulted in investigator Abraham Sanchez?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the nature of this question to its relevance. This has to do with the other child's investigation and is over 6 months ago. It's not relevant.
Your Honor, evidence concerning Ms. Vocal's home and her relationship with her children is relevant to this proceeding, and that's what this testimony is about.
I'm objecting on the basis of the time and the fact that it's 7 months old and doesn't have to do with this investigation.
It's overruled. Go, Mr. Ham. Thank you.
So do you recall having some conversations with Mr. Abraham Sanchez at that time?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware of what caused Mr. Sanchez to come investigate you in your home in August of 2023?
Yes, sir, I am.
What was the cause of that?
I was, after having my daughter, I was having a lot of mental health issues.
Your daughter, Emma.
My daughter, Emma. Yes, sir. I was very, having some issues with postpartum, and it was just not a good time. It was not a good time. I was having a very difficult time, and I was reaching out. I had been to the doctor and I was going to another doctor. I had appointments lined up to get blood work and a psych analysis done and therapy. I was reaching out for help before CPS was called.
Do you recall conversations with Mr. Sanchez about some illegal drug use by you at that time? Yes, sir. And what was that?
It was these like pill things that Lewis had brought into the house, and I was ingesting them.
Do you know what they were?
They were, I'm not sure. I'm not in the drug world very much. I think they were called, I don't know. I just thought they were little meth pill. They were meth pills because that's just what it seemed like. I guess they're called mollies or something. I don't know what I don't really know what they were.
Was it your understanding that it was methamphetamines?
That was what my husband told me.
You also referred to a speed pill. Is that the same thing?
Yeah,
Or
I think.
did you
yeah.
understand it to be the same thing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There were also some conversations about ecstasy. Was that something different, or was that the same
That
thing?
was, I thought, well, he had brought them thinking that's what it was. And then he changed the name of it. I don't know. I didn't really have a lot to do with bringing it into the house.
Well,
he said,
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. He said it was ecstasy, and then he said it was Molly, then it was meth pills. And I was just like, I don't know. That's really all I know about it.
No, it sounds like I'm going to ask you, where did you get those pills?
Lewis brought them into the house. He got them from some guy he knew.
Do you know where he got them?
No, sir. I think it was somebody he had been to prison with or something.
You said he brought them into the house. How many pills did he bring into the house?
There was quite a bit. There was, it was like a Ziploc bag, and it had a bunch of them in there. I don't know how many were in there.
So did you, how many of these pills did you take?
I took a lot of them. I took a couple every day for a while.
Over how long a period of time?
Probably a few weeks before CPS was called. And then before they were called, probably 5 or 6 days before they were called, I had already said, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I'd stopped until they took the kids. And then I just was in a bad place again.
So was there an incident where you basically left home in Lewis's pickup truck? Was that something that brought on the investigation?
That was a different incident that didn't have anything to do with drugs or anything like that. That didn't have anything to do with drugs.
Well, tell us what that was about.
I was, like I said, I was having very severe postpartum. And I was reaching out for help because it's very hard to talk about. I'm sorry. As much as I loved my family, there was something inside of me that just didn't want to be anymore during that time. And it was very scary, and it was very hard to deal with because I love my children and I didn't want to be there anymore. I like alive. And And it was the worst. That was the worst time in my life. And it was during the happiest time of my life because I'd wanted Emma for so long and I was so happy to have her. But I was dealing with things that I couldn't help. And, postpartum, it's something some people may never experience, but I had it and I had it very severely. And I had gotten into an argument with Lewis and I had some prescribed medication and I wanted to take some of the pills and I ended up
let me stop you right there. What prescribed medication?
it was Zoloft and Buspar. And I took, I think, 3 Buspars to calm myself down. And he thought that I took a bunch of pills because he saw me with pill bottles and he called the cops on me. And so I just left. I was like, I'm not going to deal with this. And I spoke to the police officer on the phone. I assured him that I did not take a toxic amount of pills. I did not take a life-threatening amount of pills. And he said, okay, as long as you don't need an ambulance, okay. And that was it.
You said that these were prescription drugs. Were you
Yes,
seeing a physician at the time? Where did you get the prescription?
They were prescribed to me, I believe, by Dr. Allerkamp. Well, they were first prescribed to me by my regular little general physician, Crystal Dow. And then my OBGYN, Dr. Eric Allerkamp, he refilled the prescription. Or he not refilled, but I don't know what the proper medical, he did another prescription for it.
You said you had thoughts that you didn't want to be here anymore. Would you characterize those as idle thoughts?
I didn't have any, the difference between not feeling like you don't want to be alive and having suicidal thoughts, I believe they come with a plan. I had no plan or intention on carrying through with anything. I just didn't want to be. That's the only way I know how to describe it. I didn't want to do anything to harm myself. I just was I was just overwhelmed with the feeling of not wanting to be anymore. That's it. That's the only way I know how to say it.
Would you say that you had ever actually attempted?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. So now I want to try to get the time element here. You said this was not the same time when you took the meth. It was a different time. Was it before?
It was during, it may have been during the time period of those pills. I think I was self-medicating with them because it turned out that the Zoloft that I was taking was actually very harmful for my mental health. They had switched me when I got pregnant from Prozac to Zoloft, and the entire pregnancy I was kind of, a little, every pregnant woman's a little moody, but it was a little extra. It was a little more than it should have been. And when I stopped taking the Zoloft, my mental clarity got much better. My mental health felt much better. I think Zoloft was not the right medication for me. And it actually was detrimental to me. So I think I was self-medicating with those and it's not something I've ever done before. I've never been a self-medicator. I go to the doctor or I find healthy coping skills typically. During that time, I was just a wreck. But I would not, sorry.
Go ahead.
During that time, I didn't take that phone call. Lewis thought I took a bunch of prescription medication. And I did not.
Is it your opinion that the methamphetamines helped your mental health issues?
No, of course not. I don't know. During that time, I don't know. I turned to it. Lord knows I wish I hadn't. That's not in me to behave that way, but I don't think they helped. I had overwhelming guilt about it. It didn't help. No.
You also indicated now I want to go back to the time frame here. Emma was born in June of 2023. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so the interview with Mr. Sanchez, the investigator, that was in August of
Yes, sir.
2023. So the incident with leaving the house, was that I guess that was before August of 2023 then, is that correct?
I'm not sure. The incident, Mr. Sanchez came to the house, I believe, either somewhere between the 15th and the 17th of August. It was the middle of August. That incident maybe was at the beginning of August or a week before, or a couple days before, maybe. It may have been a couple days before. And I believe that's what initiated the phone call to Mr. Sanchez.
Okay, but
So
both incidents were after Emma was born. She was
yes, sir.
okay, and she was in your house. She was with you at that time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What about Abigail? Was she there?
Yes, sir.
She was at your house also.
Yes, I'm not sure if she was home during the incident. She could have been with my parents. I honestly don't remember that day clearly. I know Lewis was at home. I'm not sure if it was a weekday or a weekend, but if it was a weekend, she typically went to my parents' house every weekend. If she wasn't with her dad, she likes going to her grandma, but I'm not 100% sure who was there. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So now this was not the first time you had taken methamphetamines, was it?
No, when I was a teenager had done that and stayed away from it my adult life.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. What did you say that again, please?
When I was a teenager, but during my adult life, I had not taken it until after Emma was born.
And so, but you indicated that you had smoked meth earlier in your life. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You also made some indication that meth use was something that was common in your family when you were younger. Is that correct?
Yes. Not my entire family, but it had been, I had been exposed to it through family. Yes.
What family members?
It was my mother and stepfather.
And when was that?
I believe I was 15, 16 in that age range. And I actually, it was over a few month period, over a summertime. And I ended up calling my dad and asking my dad to get me out of it, to get me away from it. And my dad came and got me, and I walked away from it. I did not want it in my life.
Okay, you said that your husband Lewis brought these pills home. So did you not ever actually see who he got it from?
No, sir.
Okay, so he just brought it home with him?
Yes.
And you've also indicated that Emma and Abigail were both around when this was going on. Where were these pills kept in the house?
They were in his closet, or in our closet over on, he had a section with like some shelves, and they were in there.
Were these in like a lockbox or anything, or just stuck on a shelf in the closet?
No, they were hidden inside a drawer up on the top shelf. They were not in the lockbox.
You also indicated that Mr. Sanchez that you took the meth to help you with your sexual relations with Lewis. Is that correct?
No, that was a miscommunication.
Okay. What was the miscommunication?
I don't know. I just told him that what I told him was during my entire pregnancy, I was on bed rest, and well, from 19 weeks on, we were not allowed to have sexual relations, and that that was what it was part of the thought process with Lewis, was it would make sex feel good, and I hadn't done it and been able to partake in that, and that was the reasoning behind it. Was it would be like a boost or something, and so that was that.
So you've indicated that you took methamphetamines when you were young as a teenager, and you've also indicated that you took methamphetamines sometime around this time in August of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you took methamphetamines?
I did a police report a while back in October. And Lewis had Lewis gave them to me and I was not wanting them. He wanted me to continue things like that. I did not want to continue, and he kind of forced he there's a police report.
So is it your testimony that you took methamphetamines in October of 2023?
That is the last time. He put them in me. And I went to the police and filed a report about it. But
so you reported it to the what police department?
Mills County, and I talked to Mills County.
So it'll be the sheriff's office then.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And I also spoke to an officer about it in San Saba, Officer Newkirk.
Okay. What was the result of that police report?
Nothing. There was no result. It was Officer, I believe, Malloy or Deputy Malloy, who I spoke to in Mills County.
Okay, the Mills County deputy.
I also went to the emergency room and have an emergency. I don't have it on me, but I went to the emergency room in Lampasas that day. So.
Have you taken any methamphetamine since October of 2023?
I have not, but I feel there's a chance I've been exposed to it through Lewis. I've gone to work with him and I have seen it, like stuff that he dropped and things like that. So I am concerned about exposure, but I have not willingly, and I have not, I don't know. I just, no, I have not taken it. I've not smoked it. There's no pills. None of that. I'm just concerned about him.
So you say that you've been exposed to it. I mean, is it your testimony that you may have ingested some meth since then or inhaled some meth since then?
I don't think so. I really don't think so, but I've gone to work with him. And I have concerns about his mental health and what he's willing to do.
Have you been exposed or taken any other, and let's back up to August of 2023. Since
Yes,
August
sir.
of 2023 up until now, have you taken or been exposed to any other illegal drugs?
Other than methamphetamines?
Yes.
No. No, sir.
And what prescription drugs are you taking now?
I still have anxiety medicine, Buspar.
Is that all?
That's it right now. Yes.
Now, Ms. Vocal, as a result of the situation with Mr. Sanchez, the investigator, and regarding Emma, there was a service plan worked up for you. Is that correct? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And well, just let me ask you, what were you required to do under that service plan? And you agreed to that service plan, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was drug screenings, random drug screenings, and therapy. And I believe there's parenting classes, and with the first assigned counselor, we were doing that, the therapy and the parenting classes together. And then I've asked about the parenting classes, but I don't think the new counselor had the same kind of plan set up. But So that I believe is the requirements that were asked of me, or the service plan.
So the therapy, and let's talk about the therapy. Have you engaged in the therapy? Have you talked to the counselor and gone through that?
I've talked to the counselor. I have missed appointments. It wasn't always intentional for me to miss the appointments. I was working a lot of different odd jobs and working for my landlords, and then I would go to jobs with Mr. Vocal, and I was trying to get as much money together as possible because to get my house, to get my own house, to get a vehicle again. And so I was working constantly, just constantly.
So let's talk about the drug test.
Mhm.
Explain how the drug tests work. How do you know when you're
I
required
call-
to take a drug test?
I call and it tells, I have an assigned color, and I call a number and it says what the color of the day is.
And that tells you when you have to be tested?
Yes, sir.
And how are you tested?
Through urine.
Okay, I'm looking at a report here from Ms. Henry, your caseworker on Emma's case.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it shows you agree that there were positive tests in August of 2023. You've admitted methamphetamine use, so that doesn't surprise anybody, correct?
Yes, sir.
There were obviously positive tests in August of 2023.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the list here, and it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 entries here from August of 2023 through January 31st of 2024, and it says did not test.
Mm-hmm.
Do you disagree with that?
I don't disagree. And it was court ordered, I believe, in October for the CPS people to come get me every single week because I was without a vehicle, and that did not happen.
But you admit that there's 16 times when you were required to test when you did not test. And
absolutely. I agree.
Basically missed tests. I understand that you may have what you think is a reason for that, but the bottom line is you did not test, correct?
Yes, sir. I agree to that. Yes, that is a fact.
Okay, let's talk about Mr. Vocal for a minute. Where is Mr. Vocal today?
He is in the Mills County Jail.
Why is he in the Mills County Jail?
Because I called the police on him for kicking in my door.
Okay, explain to the court what the circumstances were with that. What happened?
He was, I can't say whether he was inebriated, I guess is the correct word, but it appeared to be so on some, and he's become very paranoid, and he was bothering me about just accusations he had that were not true. And I guess he had gone through my vehicle because I didn't lock my vehicle and found some thing that the previous, because I just got it, and he found something from the previous owner, and he thought I was keeping some secret bank account. So he wanted to address it with me. I told him to go to work, go away, and shut the door, locked it. And because he was waking me up to bother me with this, and he ended up kicking the door in. And he grabbed a bottle of bleach and threw bleach on my clothes, and he was just trying to destroy things. And I called the cops on him and had him taken away.
When was that?
January 20th or 19th?
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
And as far as you know, he's still in jail. He was arrested.
Yes, sir, he is. Yeah.
Now, in connection with his arrest, there was also an emergency protective order entered against him. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It was entered by the magistrate when the magistrated him at the jail. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
And he has been in jail ever since then?
Yes, sir.
Have you had any contact with him at all since he's been in jail?
He called one time, and I spoke with him, and then I asked for permission to discuss the tax return issues, or like what I need to do about that. And so I talked to Judge Avance, and she said to just write a letter and only discuss that topic.
Judge Avance is the magistrate that entered the protective order, correct?
Yes, she said she can't give me permission and all that stuff. She said just write a letter, and if the jail lets it, the jail lets it. Because that's something that, I mean, it's kind of important. I need to file income taxes.
Have you had any other contact with him since he's been in jail?
Besides his daughter saying something to him, that's really about it. And that was just, or him asking his daughter to say something to me, and they don't really want to do that. So no, I don't do that.
You haven't gone to see him since he's been in jail?
No.
What are your plans as far as your marriage relationship with Mr. Vogel? Do you plan on staying married to him, or are you going to get a divorce?
I do not plan to reconcile. I am currently deciding when I want to file for divorce. My plan is divorce. I just don't know when I want to file yet. Okay. I do not plan to reconcile. No.
Okay, so while all this was going on with Emma, what about the situation with Abigail? Now, her father is Randy Cavazos. Where does he live?
He lives in Killeen.
What is your current relationship with Mr. Cavazos?
He does not speak to me. Prior to the case, I would say we had a friendship.
And you've testified that you and Mr. Cavazos don't have any kind of court order or a formal custody agreement or visitation
sir, I did not testify that we did not have a court order. I testified we didn't have a court order for any kind of separation. We have a court order through the Attorney General's office for visitation, custody, child support, all those things. We just do not have a court order for a separation of our relationship.
Okay, I misunderstood you. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. It's
so
okay.
The Attorney General's office filed, I assume they filed a petition for child support from him.
Yes, sir.
And there's a court order is there a court order that orders him to pay child support?
I believe so. Yes. Yes. I believe.
Is he paying child support?
Yes, he's always been wonderful. And
hold on a second. Okay, go on, Mr. Hale. Thank you.
So, Ms. Vogel, I was asking you about the child support for Mr. Cavazos, and you indicated that he is paying child support, correct?
Yes, sir.
How much does he pay?
I think it's for $458, I believe.
And it's your belief or understanding that he's current on that. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. So since he's paying child support, then you are maintaining conservatorship or custody of Abigail. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, before this removal anyway, she was living with you here in Gothway.
Yes, sir.
And was there some visitation between Abigail and Mr. Cavazos?
Yes, sir.
What kind of visitation?
Well, we have standard visitation, which is the first, third, and fifth weekend of every month. And then I think Thursday or Wednesday, it's like supposed to be 6 to 8. He works 4 days on, 4 days off. So he'll have a month where he has every weekend off, and then he has a month where he has no weekends off. If he wants to get her and it's not the first weekend, it's the second weekend, and he wants to go take her and they're going to go to a birthday party and a bowling alley and all that, I would just let her go. His schedule is, he can't really help his schedule, and he works night shift. So I've always been, if you've got the time, here she is. He loves his daughter, and I didn't see an issue with letting her go if it was his weekend or not, because the way his schedule falls. So he had as much access to her as he wanted. And if he had some time before work or something like that, and he wanted to come on a Tuesday instead of Thursday and come hang out at the house for a couple hours, I would let him and Abby would hang out in her room or go to Dairy Queen and get dinner. And so he's had full access, to Abigail. I was always very supportive of their relationship.
So it sounds like from your testimony, it's safe to say that as far as child support and visitation, there really aren't any problems between you and Mr. Cavazos then.
We've never had problems with that, no.
And whatever issues you may have about schedule, you've been able to work those out with Mr. Cavazos?
Yes, sir.
In a way that's agreeable to both you and him, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What about Abigail? How does she respond, and how does she work with your custody and with the visitation?
She's the last couple of years, it's been a little more difficult to get her to want to go with her dad. She doesn't want to go, but when she goes, she always has fun. So, she's just been she has a little bit of an attitude with dad. And she still goes. And I typically, like, if he's got something planned, and he's very good about taking the kids out to do something fun. He's always got a new adventure, go hike or do this. And I want her to go do those things. So even when she says, I don't want to go with dad, I'm like, oh, you're going with dad. Dad loves you. You need to go. You need to spend time with dad. She has been less and less and less wanting to go. And I've had talks with her. I've had my dad have a talk with her. I've had my mom have a talk with her. And we're trying to get her to, like, stop being so attitudey about dad. And she just.
So is it safe to say then you actually encourage Abigail to visit with her dad?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're not concerned about her safety or welfare as far as any time that she spends with her father, are you?
The only disagreements I have with Randy, I think she will be physically safe. Sometimes he can kind of pick at her and get under her skin. And sometimes I worry about effects emotionally. And it's something I've discussed with him, and we just haven't come to an agreement on that. But that's my only concern, is the emotional well-being. But physical well-being, he's going to protect her. She's going to be safe. He's not going to put her in harm's way.
So while the issue was rocking along here with Emma, you were approached by a different department investigator, Kelly Milbauer. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
When was that?
The 21st or 22nd. 22nd.
January?
Yeah. The 20-something of January.
Okay, middle to end of January of
Yes,
this
sir.
year.
Yes, sir.
And what did Ms. Milbauer say that the issues were with you as far as Abigail was concerned?
She pretty much cited Lewis as a reason, as being a danger, and drug usage, which I asked her to give me a test, and she did not want to. I asked her several times, and she did not want to. And I was finally able to get Lewis removed and had the protective order, and I've asked to have it extended. So it was pretty much just Lewis and the drug thing. And I was willing right then and there. I was like, please test me. Let's go. Let's do it. And she just wouldn't do it.
So as a result of those conversations with Ms. Milbauer, did you enter into what they call a safety plan?
No.
Which in effect had to do with the Abigail going to stay with Mr. Cavazos? I did not hear the word safety plan, because I heard that with Sanchez, a safety plan for Abraham, but I did not hear anything about that from Kelly. So what was it with Mr. Sanchez then, as far as the safety plan with Abigail?
It was just visits, and she'd stay with her dad. It was just essentially it was talking about having visits with her and her staying there for a while.
So
I believe it was a 30-day safety plan. It was 30 days.
Okay, so Abigail would stay with Mr. Cavazos, her father, for
30 days.
An extended period of time, more extended than what your normal visitation was anyway.
The paperwork was 30 days.
Okay.
It expired in 30 days. So in my understanding was 30 days.
And when was that?
In August. It started in August.
Okay. So did, at that time then, of course, this is August, so school is starting. Where did Abigail register to go to school?
The Goldthwaite Elementary School.
Okay. So then she went with Mr. Cavazos for 30 days. Did she, I assume she transferred then to the school where he was?
He enrolled her, and I think it's called Pershing Park or Pershing Park Elementary School. It's right by his house, a few blocks from his house.
So she started going to school there then?
Yes, sir.
So at some point in time, there were some communications between you and Abigail, maybe by telephone or text or whatever, and you ultimately went to Mr. Cavazos' house and picked her up. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Objection leading.
This is an adverse witness, Your Honor. But,
That's true. That's true. Overruled.
I didn't
So-
hear Mr. Hale's response. I'm sorry.
I said this is an adverse witness, but I'm trying not to be leading, but I would ask leave to
That's-
lead since I have an adverse witness.
That's fine. I didn't understand the context. Thank you.
It's over. It was overruled, Ms. Miller. Go on, Mr. Hale.
So what were the circumstances or the facts around when you went to Mr. Cavazos' house and picked Abigail up?
Well, one of the things I'd been waiting for to get Abby was for Lewis to no longer be a problem. And I had discussed it. I'd asked Maria, the caseworker for Emma, Maria Henry, I believe. I was asking her to get permission. I spoke with my lawyer and talked about my court orders. I'd already been trying to get the footwork done and get approval and get everyone on the same page. And then Abby called me and she was very upset with her dad. And I think my mom had woken up late and she was supposed to meet Randy in Lampasas because she'd had Abby for the weekend. And she was supposed to meet Randy in Lampasas at a certain time. And she slept. She's a little older, and I don't know if she didn't hear her alarm or what happened, but she certainly doesn't want to upset Randy. But she didn't make it in time for the meeting. And so when Randy got her, he told her, or at some point on the phone, maybe he told her, don't be mad when you never see your grandparents again. And for Abby to hear that, she's very close with my parents. Until she was probably 78 years old, they lived right across the street from us. So she's very much used to having them in her life. So that upset her. And she called me bawling her eyes out and saying, Mom, please just come get me. Please just come get me. I cannot stay here anymore. I don't want to be here. Please, 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 please. And I said, okay, baby. So I called. I went and I got her.
So did you have any communications with Mr. Cavazos about this?
No, I called the Killeen PD and asked them to escort me over there because I knew that was going to be just a knockdown, drag out, and I wanted the police to be there for that. Not a physical knockdown, like a argumentative knockdown.
And so let's get it straight now. When was this going on? What time, what month, or what day?
It was let me look at a calendar. I'm so sorry. I believe it was on a Sunday. A calendar will help me tremendously. I believe it was the 21st or the 20th of January. It was a day or two after Lewis had gone to jail, and we had I had a protective order in place.
So January of this year.
Yes, after Lewis's arrest. And
so Abigail had been with Mr. Cavazos for several months then.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
How many months?
5 months.
And you were aware of the fact that Abigail was enrolled in school there with Mr. Cavazos,
yes.
Correct?
And yes, sir.
So did you So you didn't have any conversation with Mr. Cavazos when Abigail got with you and left, correct?
We knocked at the door 3 times. I waited with the police. The police were knocking on the door, and we attempted to make contact with him, and he never came to the door.
Did you call or text?
No, that was not going to be a healthy conversation.
So what did you do with Abigail?
We went home.
To Goldthwaite?
Yes, sir.
So that was along, you said like January the 20 something of this year, correct?
Yeah, I believe it was just one second. Let me look at the calendar again. I'm sorry. 21st, I believe.
Is she enrolled in school here now in Goldthwaite?
I got a hold of the elementary school in Killeen and submitted paperwork for her withdrawal. I would talk to Miss Jernigan, the elementary school principal here, and Miss Lacey, the secretary, and discuss getting her re-enrolled. Miss Lacey, the secretary, was going to get in communications with the elementary school over there to get all of her transfer paperwork and all the things they needed from them.
Okay, so you didn't complete the enrollment then. She was not enrolled in school?
She was going to be enrolled in the day we went up to the school. We checked in with them. We got a backpack. She said hello to the principal, and she was going to school the next day after Wednesday is the day they came and took her. And we were pretty much, I believe we were done with the enrollment process, and she was starting school the next morning.
So where is Abigail now?
She's in I believe she's in Killeen at the elementary school, Killeen Elementary School, the Pershing Park. She should be at school right now.
Where she was before you brought her to Goldthwaite?
Yes, sir.
And you've indicated you don't have any concerns at this time about her safety or well-being anyway.
I have concerns about, I'm becoming more concerned about her mental health. And now, I've had emotional concerns. I'm now concerned about her mental health. Yes.
So what are your, let's talk about your mental health. You've indicated the prescription drugs that you have. Are you seeing a therapist or a counselor or a mental health person to help you with your mental health issues right now?
We're re-enrolling through CPS with Cheryl Lane, I believe, but I have someone that I talk to privately. That's my safe place, and I don't want that involved with a CPS case, because it's hard for me to open up as it is. And I need someone that I can trust, or it's just pointless really for me. So I have someone that I speak to. I am wanting to get back with Cheryl. And I'm doing, I believe, very well. But you can ask me about that, I guess, if you want. I'm sure you will.
Go ahead.
Okay. And my current mental health is very positive. It's hard to be positive every day, obviously, but I strive to have a positive attitude every day. I have my coping skills that I'm reinforcing. Like, it took me a lot of years to learn them, and I'm utilizing them. I go to the gym, I'm crocheting, I'm doing little projects that just make me feel better. And I feel good. I just want my baby. I want my baby home. That's the thing that tugs my heartstrings every night. I just want my baby.
Now, Ms. Bokel, pursuant to some later court orders, you tested for drugs on January 31st of this year. Is that correct?
I believe so.
You did a UA test as well as a hair follicle test. Is that correct?
I believe, yes, sir.
And what were the results of those?
I haven't been told anything about results, but I know that UA will certainly 100% be negative.
Okay, I'm looking at the list here, and it says negative on both of those tests. So, yes. And you believe that to be accurate, I would assume.
Yes, sir.
There's been some testimony earlier about maybe you coloring your hair, which can possibly have an effect on hair follicle tests. What's the story on that?
The last time I colored my hair was before court in October. I have not colored my hair since October. Pretty much all I've got is some grays growing out. Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, You've got
Which is
hair. I
why
think
I
that's
have the
wonderful. I don't
one.
have any.
You know, so I can show that I do have a lot of growth and a lot of gray. So I
So
am
let me
definitely
ask you
ready.
this, we've got two cases going on here. This case we're having hearing on today is on Abigail, but you still
Yes.
got the case with Emma that's rocking along that requires drug tests. Are
Yes, sir.
you prepared to cooperate with the department and
Absolutely.
complete that drug testing the way you're required to do under the service plan?
Yes, sir. I've got my vehicle now. I'm that was my biggest struggle, was getting to them because they're 30 something miles away. I reached out and said, is there any way I can do it in town? I will walk my little happy butt down to any doctor's office here in town and happily do it. But they were 30 something miles away. I can't quite make that walk. It'd take me a couple days, but I'm absolutely willing to go. I want to go. I want to show that I am compliant, and that is not me. That is not something I do. I love my children. There's nothing I will put above my children. I want to comply. I've had difficulties doing that, and it's not going to be difficulty anymore. I've got the vehicle. I had to work hard and I got it. So I'm ready. I'm ready to comply. I wanted to comply before.
What about employment? Are you employed?
Yes. And I have not seen your face here. You should come in at the new coffee shop here in Goldthwaite. We're very excited. We had our soft opening this week. It's supposed to be last week, but we did it this week. And I'm really excited about it. It's close to my home. I've got great hours. Very, very easy to work around school hours, and it's good. I'm very excited about it.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right. Ms. Volkel, I'd like to cover a few different subjects with you, but the first thing I'd like to ask you about is the resolution of this case today. If the court were to grant temporary managing conservatorship of this child, Abby, to the department, but at the same time grant a monitored return of the child to you, would you agree to that today?
I would love that. Yes.
Okay. So you would agree to the department's conservatorship if the child were returned to you today, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. And that is what the child desperately wants. Is that right?
Very much. Yes.
How do you know that?
She tells me. She begs to come home every day.
And how do you all communicate right now?
Right now, Randy lets her call me, or sometimes we FaceTime, and he monitors it, which is fine, you know. But we talk every day on the phone.
Okay, very good.
Or sometimes FaceTime.
Okay, so you talk with words, you don't just text, correct?
We haven't really been texting a whole lot except for pictures. She'll send me like screenshots or a video, but we haven't really been texting. No.
Okay, so unlike most teenagers, you actually talk to her, as I'm fond of saying, with words, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, next subject I'd like to ask you about is Randy. Where does he work?
He works for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He is a correctional officer at Lane Murray.
At the Lane Murray unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He's a
And
CO5.
how much? CO5. Okay, so that's pretty high up in the correctional officer world, correct?
That's the highest you can go as a correctional officer. Yes.
Okay, and how do you know about that?
I worked for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for, I think I have like 9 years, 10 years, somewhere in that range.
From when to when?
I started in, oh gosh, you're asking me to go back to my 20s. I was 21. I don't remember what year. I think that was 2009, I believe is when I started. I took a year break when Abby was a baby, and I worked at the gym, and I could take Abby to work with me. So I took a break when she was a baby, and then I went back when she was a little bit older until 2016, 17.
Is that how you met Mr. Cavazos?
It is at the Lane Murray unit. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you told me that he has been paying child support religiously. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And do you know approximately what is that child support amount per month?
Well, at the very beginning it was lower, but currently I think it's $465 or $468.
Do you know how much he makes per month in his job?
I believe the CO5 salary is over 4,000 now. And then he also gets hazardous duty pay, which he's got 20 years. So whatever, 20 or maybe 19 years, he could be somewhere around there. And so you multiply that times 12 a month, and add that on top of the salary. So it's over $4,000 a month is his salary.
Okay. And where does he live?
He never gave me the new address or even told me he moved.
Okay.
But
Let me just stop you there. In the affidavit, I'm sorry, in the original petition, it says that he lives at 18. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes, that sounds correct.
Do you know who else lives in that house?
His mother,
Okay.
Walika.
And how long have they lived at that address, approximately?
I'm not even sure when he moved. It's been, I want to say at least a year or two.
Okay. And how long has he lived with his mother?
He, as far as I know, he's pretty much lived with his mother since our separation. Maybe moved out briefly with a girlfriend and then moved back in with his mom. So pretty much since Abby was a year old.
Okay.
Or maybe actually before then. Actually, it was while I was pregnant he moved in with her. So since 2012.
Okay. And who else lives in the home that you're aware of?
His stepfather did live there, but he did pass. He passed away.
Okay. All right. So if somebody makes $4,000 a month plus hazardous duty pay, do they sound indigent to you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And in your case, you were required to fill out a form for a court-appointed attorney, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were unemployed at the time.
Yes, ma'am.
And obviously, we need to update that with your new employment as of last week, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you are familiar with that document, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I believe
Okay.
I was. Sorry.
And on that document, you have to sign your signature and swear that you are unable to afford an attorney, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I was appointed to you in Emma's case, right?
Yes.
And I have been reappointed to you in Abby's case.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still indigent?
I would say I would still qualify. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would still qualify for that.
Okay. And how much do you make per hour at the coffee shop, or how much are you going to make?
I make $10 an hour, and I may average somewhere between 25 and 30 hours a week.
Okay. So you're not full-time, correct?
Not yet. No, ma'am.
Okay. And how much is your rent per month?
$750.
Okay. And you said that you had a new car, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you get that?
I got that. I actually have my title. Woohoo! I just got that. Just one second. It was last month, I believe.
Okay.
It was the 20th that the title was issued.
Okay.
January 20th.
And what is your monthly car payment?
I actually do not have a car payment. I was able to fully buy the vehicle cash.
Okay. Were you able to buy it with your tax returns?
Yes. Well, I had some left over from last year in the bank. Like, I mean, I've been just holding it dearly.
Okay. Do you have a bunch of money sitting in the bank somewhere now?
I have 12 cents in the bank, and
Okay.
I have, I think, $100 on Cash App.
So the answer is no.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. All right. So, you mentioned that you had a prior order in this case from the Attorney General, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that is filed at the Mills County Courthouse. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
When was that order issued?
That order was issued. Oh, darn it. I don't have it. I don't have it on hand.
Okay. Approximately what year?
2013.
Okay.
I think Abby was about 6 months old. So it's the beginning of 2013.
And there have been no modifications to that document since then, correct?
The only modifications we've had are a change in Randy's salary, which went higher.
Okay.
And we modified it for higher child support. And that was, I want to say 5 to 6 years ago.
Okay. But you have not sought modification since then, correct?
No, ma'am.
You would likely be entitled to higher child support now. Do you realize that?
Yes, ma'am. I believe I would.
Okay. So that document is on file with the district clerk in Mills County, Texas. Is that right?
Yes, Miss Shawnee Martinez. Yes.
Okay. And did you get believe it's actually Sonia Scott and Ms. Martinez is a deputy. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So do you have a copy of that document? I'm not with you, but do you have a copy somewhere?
I do. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you go to when did you get a copy of that?
I recently obtained a new copy 2 weeks ago. Or actually it was on, I'm sorry. It was on, I got to keep looking at my calendar. I'm so sorry. I believe it was on Monday, the 22nd of January.
Okay. And so that document is of public record, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
It's no giant secret, right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. And what kind of, in your conversation with Mr. Hale, you said that gave you primary conservatorship. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so what does that mean to you?
That means that Abigail lives with me. I decide where she lives, where we're going to live, what school she's going to go to. And I just make all the parenting. Most of the parenting, like the parenting decisions are made by me. Yeah, because
Okay.
Yeah.
And what in terms of possession and access, you mentioned that Mr. Cavazos has the right to have, or has a possession schedule that gives him the child on the first, third, and fifth weekend. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then other holidays and things in the standard possession.
Every
correct?
other and all. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so in Emma's case, you had a parental child safety plan, correct?
In Emma's?
Yes. In Emma's case, there was a parental child safety plan as far as Abby goes, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that, to your knowledge, is that a legal document?
I think it's a suggestion or maybe even a guideline that I agree to with CPS. That is certainly not a court order document. No.
Okay. So it's an agreement, correct?
Right. It's an agreement.
And is there an expiration date to your knowledge of that agreement?
It was 30 days.
Okay. So that would have expired in September of 2023. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so even after the expiration of the parental child safety plan in Emma's case concerning Abby, you agreed for the child to remain with Randy. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what were your considerations in deviating from the court order in that respect?
I wanted to get everything in order at home. I didn't want her to come home until I was back on my feet, until I was back, in a healthy place for her. And okay. I waited for that.
And did you wait for anything concerning Lewis?
Absolutely. I wanted him gone. And with him, he's kind of known around town. It's a small town. Anyone that knows Lewis knows once he's off the path, it's only a matter of time and he's out of here. So.
Okay. So let me ask you, hold on just a second, please. So would you say that you were doing better at the beginning of Emma's case or now?
I would say I'm doing better now.
Okay. And so you understand for somebody to make a call to CPS and for CPS to file a case, that there has to be an imminent danger to the child, correct?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you understand that in a regular family law case, that burden is much lower? If Mr. Cavazos were to take you back to court to modify that prior court order concerning Emma out of Mills County from 2012, he doesn't have to allege an immediate danger to the child, correct?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Okay. But he also doesn't get a free lawyer, right?
No, he would not.
Okay. But he gets a free lawyer at least until today, correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So do you think that he would have a better shot with a modification case as far as Abby goes? Would he have had a better shot back in September or now?
I think if he would have gotten a lawyer in September, he would have custody of Abby right now.
Okay. So he probably had grounds to file a private family law case to modify the 2012 order as far as Abby goes back in the fall of 2012.
Absolutely. Yes.
And you'd give him that?
I'd give him that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What about now?
No, he would not be able to. No, I have a home. I have a job. I have a car. I am drug free. I am a good mother to Abby.
Okay. So let's talk about your Emma case for a moment, since we spent quite a bit of time on that previously. You have a service plan in that case that you discussed with Mr. Hale, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And there really isn't that much on the service plan, correct?
No. Not a whole lot.
So had you kind of mentally, or have you been making some tough decisions as far as Emma's case?
Yes.
What is that tough decision?
I've decided to go through with an open adoption.
And who has that child? Who has the placement of that child right now?
Sarah Harriman.
Okay, and who is Sarah to you?
Sarah is my best friend.
Okay. And not to dig too far down into Sarah's personal life, but she doesn't have any children, correct?
Sarah is unable to have her own children. And
okay,
she has
go ahead, please.
She has an adopted son that she actually adopted through through kinship placement. And so she does have one adopted son.
Okay, so she's been vetted and home studied and investigated to death, correct?
To death, yes, yes.
Okay, and so she was obviously a suitable home for the child she adopted.
Yes, yes,
she would be a suitable home for Emma. Is that right?
She's going to be amazing. Yes.
Okay. And that was not an easy decision for you to make, correct?
No.
Okay. Still not easy, obviously, right?
No, every time I talk about it, every time. I'm so sorry.
So let's go back to your service plan. You were ordered to get some mental health help, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And part of that included going to a counselor, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that going to a counselor in person or on the computer?
It was on the computer.
Okay. So you really don't have much of an excuse for not driving there, correct?
No,
okay.
ma'am. No.
Okay. And you understand that was probably the most important component of your case with Emma, right?
Yes, I was aware of that. Yes.
And you kind of fell down on it, correct?
I did.
And hold on just a second. I'll ask the question.
Yes. Yes.
That doesn't constitute an immediate danger to Emma, does it?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Yeah, excuse me. That doesn't constitute an immediate danger to Abby, does it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You are not suicidal?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you had do you feel like you'd kind of clocked out of Emma's case as far as the mental health and the counseling?
I don't know if I've clocked out. It's just, it is difficult for me to.
Okay.
Yes.
And part of the reason you didn't want to go to this counselor is because you were afraid all of that was going to be, everything you talked to her about was going to be regurgitated to CPS. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's basically happened. Is that right?
It has happened. Yes.
Okay. And so some of the things that you told that counselor about your potential relinquishment of Emma have been brought up and kind of used against you in this case. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So would you re-engage with counseling with your CPS counselor if there was an agreement that counselor didn't regurgitate the facts of the sessions to CPS, but basically just checked a box and said, Adrian was here, Adrian was here, and Adrian was here?
It would certainly, yes, it would be easier for me to communicate, that's for sure, and actually process things with them.
Would you be more willing to re-engage with services with this counselor if CPS was only given information about whether you attended or not?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. All right. Would you said that you were visiting with somebody else, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a mental health professional?
It is actually a counselor through the Dove Project in San Saba for women that have been abused.
Okay. And we're familiar with the Dove Project from our San Saba cases. Who is that counselor that you're visiting with down at the Dove Project?
Her name is Miss Leverett, Christy Leverett.
Okay. And so she's a pretty well-known and frequently used counselor in our CPS cases. Are you aware of that?
She told me that she had worked with CPS before, and and it was a question I had. I obviously wanted to know, and she told me she was very familiar with CPS. Yes.
Okay. And so, but her information and her counseling notes and records are not regurgitated to CPS at this time.
No.
Is that correct?
No, I asked her. No.
And why are you involved with the Dove Project in San Saba?
Because I was abused by
in pretty much every respect there is in terms of abuse, correct?
Absolutely.
So
yes,
are
ma'am.
all of those things that you're discussing with Miss Leverett?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you get engaged with the Dove Project's services?
Towards the end of October, early November. I couldn't give you a date. Between the end of October and beginning of November, I believe.
Okay, good deal. You didn't even tell me that you were doing that, correct?
No, ma'am. No.
I didn't tell you to do that.
No, ma'am. I did that.
You did it all on your own, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about your substance abuse testing, which you talked about with Mr. Hale. He mentioned that you had 2 clean hair strand tests from a couple of weeks ago, correct?
Yes.
And you were negative and or clean for all substances. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So obviously your substance use would not constitute an immediate danger to the child.
No, ma'am.
And obviously your lack of counseling would not constitute an immediate danger to the child.
No, ma'am.
Because you're going to counseling, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's turn to something else that might have constituted an immediate danger to the child, and that is Lewis.
Yes.
He has been to prison before, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he go to TDCJ for?
Do you want the list of all the times or just the most recent? No.
The list would be
No.
great.
He went the first time he was inebriated and he had an assault on a public servant. He got out, changed his life, was doing great.
What year was that? About what year was that approximately?
2015 is when he got out.
Okay, and so assault public servant, hold on just a second. Be sure to pause because we're electronic and I'll need to ask the questions. Assault public servant, to your knowledge, is that beating up a cop?
Yes.
Okay. And he went to prison, you said in 2015?
I think he was released around 16. Or he went in 14 and got released in 16.
Okay. So he did not complete all of his sentence in TDCJ. He was released on parole. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And is he currently on parole?
He went back to prison.
Okay. He went back to prison when and for what?
That one was for burglary and felony possession of a firearm. And then he was released he went back in 2019 and was released in 21.
And so felons, convicted felons are not allowed to carry a firearm, correct?
No.
But he did, right?
Yeah, he got his dad's old 22 or something.
And then he burglarized somebody, right?
Yes.
Okay. Was he convicted for that new offense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So while he was on parole, he reoffended with a felony offense, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Went back to TDCJ. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. And
When was he?
He was released 21.
Okay.
22 or 22.
Okay.
22. July of 22.
Did he come out on parole?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Okay. How much parole did he have left to discharge when he was released?
I believe until June or July of this year.
Okay. And so was he successfully discharged from parole, or did he reoffend again while he was on parole?
He reoffended.
Okay. And when was that and what was that?
That was this most recent thing on, I believe, the 20th or 19th of January. And he got charged with terroristic threats and criminal mischief.
Okay. So terroristic threat is a felony offense?
I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure.
Well, needless to say, while you're out on parole, you can't commit terroristic threat or criminal mischief, correct?
Correct.
And so those are new legal violations of his parole. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does he, is there a blue warrant out for him?
There is a blue warrant. I did speak with his parole officer and he did get a blue warrant.
Okay. And so basically that means he's going to be held indefinitely at the Mills County Jail until parole decides what to do with him, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he's in there on these new charges for terroristic threat and criminal mischief. And then he's also in there on a blue warrant until God knows when on the parole violation, correct?
And also new charges in San Saba.
Okay, and what are the new charges in San Saba?
I don't know. That was news to me.
Okay, when did you learn about those?
I learned about those from, I believe from his parole officer when I spoke with her. I can't remember. Something about possession of something to do with drug testing or something. It was a fake thing.
Trying to fake a drug test?
Yes.
Okay, and he kind of had a fake male anatomical part. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. That is correct.
Okay. And so he had tried to use that fake anatomical part to drug test in the Emma case. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was found out, basically. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, he was.
Okay. And so that is also a new offense for him in San Saba, trying to use that fake male anatomical part to drug test down there. Is that right?
I believe
Who
so.
knows?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the bottom line is that he's in there for new offenses in Mills County.
Yeah.
A new offense in San Saba. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
A blue warrant for parole.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was his parole officer?
Haley Porter. Haley Porter.
Okay. Are you aware of whether this investigator, Milbauer, ever spoke with his parole officer?
I don't think she spoke with anybody besides Randy.
There's no information in the affidavit concerning any conversation between Miss Milbauer and the parole officer, Haley, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you also have an emergency protective order that lasts 60 days. Is that right?
It's 90 days.
90 days. And we're still within the first 30 days of that, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you'll remember at our last hearing with Emma, we discussed that case, right? Or we discussed the
Yes.
protective order, right?
Yes.
And what did you say on the record in the last court hearing that you wanted to do with that protective order?
I want to extend it, and it's something we've discussed. I want to extend it. I want to utilize it. I'm very happy to have it.
And you know that we can file for up to a 2-year extension of that protective order, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know that's on my to-do list, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I know.
Okay.
I keep stacking stuff on there for you. I'm sorry.
You do, along with filing for divorce, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good deal.
You're good.
So,
You're good.
did you have the opportunity I'd like to turn to the present investigation.
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity to tell this investigator any of those many, many things you have just told me about Lewis?
I did tell her I had a protective order and that, I have been wanting him. I just did not, that I've been waiting for him to go away and get out of my life and not be a bother and have a protective order and feel good before I brought Abby home. I told her many things about that.
Okay, did you have a copy of that protective order with you when you were visiting with her?
I believe I did. I think I did. I believe I did. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Did you give a copy of it to her?
I showed her it and she
Okay.
put it back. Yeah.
Did she take a picture of it or anything like that?
No.
She just gave it back to you?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to keep asking you about this investigation. When you went to the Cavazos or Lupe's home with the Colleen Police Department, what paperwork did you have in your hand?
I had my court order.
Okay.
My court order for Abigail and showing that I was her custodial parent.
Okay. And so what were you seeking to enforce that order with the Colleen Police Department?
Yes. Yes, I was.
So you called the police under the authority of a lawful order, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Colleen Police Department was seeking to return that child to you under that, or assisting you to return that child to you under a lawful order, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That order does not say that you have to call or text Mr. Cavazos to exercise your rights under that order, correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What was going on at your home at the time? Who else was living in your home when you sought to enforce that lawful order?
It was myself and my stepdaughter is temporarily there until we have her apartment done. And
how old is she?
She's 18.
Okay. And so not to diverge from my line of questioning, but you are assisting her in kind of rehabbing an apartment, right?
Yes, we're renovating an apartment behind me. Yes.
Okay. And so that's one of the things you're really good at is like handy woman work and restoring and things like that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay. So, were there a lot of drugs and partying and people hanging out at your house at the time?
No, ma'am. No.
Okay. Was anything that's going on at your home an immediate danger to Abigail?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Maybe some puppy kisses might get crazy. Some puppy kisses.
Oh, you have puppies there as well?
Yeah, her dog Phoebe. Her dog
Okay,
Phoebe,
so-
my dog Penny.
Okay. So you've got lots of puppies going on there, but no ragers, all night drug parties, drinking, anything like that.
No, ma'am. No.
So nothing that would constitute an immediate danger again, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So when you visited with this investigator, Milbauer, did you explain to her that there was a court order concerning Abby?
Yes.
Yes. What did you say?
I told her that I'm the custodial parent. I asked if it was something I could enforce. And she it was a court order. I asked if I could enforce it and I was told yes.
Okay. You were told yes by whom?
By you?
And so you had sought your attorney's advice before you attempted to exercise your rights, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I did.
Okay. So let's go back to the investigator. Did you give her a copy of that lawful court order concerning Abby?
She was presented a copy of it and I
And that
offered
was-
it to her.
And that was a certified copy that you obtained from the district clerk's office?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she do with that lawful court order?
She glanced at it and put it back down on the table.
Did she take a picture of it?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay. Did she say, "Oh, where can I get one of those?"
No, ma'am.
Okay. You live in Goldthwaite, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How far do you live from the courthouse?
2.5 blocks.
Okay. So she literally could have walked over to Miss Scott's office and gotten a certified copy of this court order, correct?
I mean, I don't know if she'd make it that far, but yes.
Are you aware of whether she did that?
No, she did not.
Okay. There's really only one person here who was not obeying a lawful court order, right?
Yes, Randy.
Okay. And who else?
CPS.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wood?
Yes, I have a few, Judge. You stated earlier that when
Hey, hold
Mr.
on.
Cardozo
Yeah,
said,
hold on. I'm sorry, Mr. Wood. Let's take about a 3-minute break. Okay, Mr. Wood, you may begin with Ms. Focal, please.
thank you, Judge. Earlier you stated that you had visits with your daughter and Mr. Cavazos, and y'all kind of worked that out, correct?
Are you talking about visits prior to her going to his house or during the time she's been at his house?
Prior to all this, for 11 years of her life,
Mhm.
y'all worked out visits together, correct?
Yes. Only because of his schedule and I just didn't think it necessary to cut him off when he.
I mean, we're trying to be short, so we'll just
Oh,
be
I'm so
real
sorry.
quick.
Yes.
So he would call you and text and you would work something out, and then that's what y'all did. So
Yes.
I'm confused. You said you weren't going to handle a knockdown drag out, but you said I wasn't going to call and text him. I just went and got her.
Well, as you said,
Why do you feel that was a good idea not to contact him?
because prior to this, we had a good relationship, as I stated before, and now we do not have a speaking relationship, and it is ugly every time he speaks to me.
Okay. So, but you thought it was good to go in the middle of the night and pick your daughter up without contacting him?
I thought it would be better handled through the police department, and it was not in the middle of the night. It was after she called me, and I called and spoke to the police department there and then headed that way. I spoke to them on the way. I thought they could handle it,
Okay.
and it would be less traumatizing with someone not screaming at me.
So you've got a car now, that's right?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said you would drive your happy little butt to drug test. Is that right?
Yes, I will. And yes, I will.
And so you'd be willing, if the court determines that Mr. Cavazos needs to continue to keep Abigail, would you be willing to drive to where she is for visits?
I would. It is, I mean, gas is of course always a factor, but I will do anything for my daughter.
Sure. I mean, you said you want to be back on your feet. To me, it sounds like you're not quite back on your feet yet.
I am back on my feet.
I mean, you just got a new job, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and you just got a car,
Yes, sir.
so you're kind of getting there, it sounds like to me.
I feel like all of my bills are paid. I have a vehicle and there's food in my house and I have a little bit of extra money left over after everything was paid. So I'd say I'm back on my feet.
Okay. So was Abigail in the home on January 19th when the door was kicked in?
No, sir.
Where was she?
She was with her dad.
Okay. And she'd been there for how long?
She's been there for 5 months.
Okay, so after staying for 5 months, you thought it was a good idea to go in the middle of the night with no contact to Mr. Cavazos and pick up your daughter.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the repeated questioning about the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I think that this witness has stated that this did not happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I don't, hold on, Mr. Wood, because I have written down what time, I don't believe Ms. Vocal said what time it was. What time was it, ma'am?
I believe it's about 9:30 p.m. or 9:25. It was, I had it written down at one point.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's, in my house, that is not the middle of the night, so, I don't
No.
think most people it is. So you can reword that, Mr. Wood, please.
Okay, at what time did you pick up Abigail?
I think it was between 9:25 and 9:30 p.m.
Okay. I think, Judge, I don't think I have any further questions for her.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Howard?
I do, thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Adrian.
Hello, Mr. Howard.
Ms. Vocal, I guess I'll start this off with a statement. You understand that my goal is to get Abigail back with you.
Yes, sir. I do.
And you understand that primarily that's my goal because of Abigail's age and it's what Abigail really wants.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, back in August 2023, I think you testified to Mr. Hell that you were not in a good place. You remember
No,
that?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to talk about why you don't believe you were in a good place. I'm going to sort of summarize it to speed this up, but it was because of your
Yes, sir.
postpartum depression. Is that right? Now,
Yes, sir.
Emma was born at the end of June of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so the postpartum depression, did it start immediately after her birth, or how long had that been going on?
It honestly started, I mean, I wouldn't call, obviously it would be postpartum, but I had some sort of pregnancy, mental illness. I don't know. The pregnancy was very hard on me.
Okay. And so that was one of the issues that put you not in a good place. And then
Yes.
the meth pill thing that we've talked about, right? That didn't
Yes.
help putting you in a good place.
No.
And let me ask you, the meth pill deal and the depression deal, that didn't just start in August when CPS got involved. That had been going on.
No. It had started after birth. Yes.
Okay. And that had been going on while Abby and Emma were living with you.
Yes.
Okay. And now we're talking about pills, right? We're not talking about smoking or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then was it because of Lewis Vocal that you were, right? Was it because of Lewis Vocal that you were not in a good place as well?
I would say yes. Yes, very much.
Well, I want to talk about Lewis Vocal because we've been going on this CPS case with Emma for a little while. And I may be wrong in my remembering, but it seems like to me that the major issues from your standpoint about Lewis Vocal are just sort of now coming out into the light.
Yes.
And so Lewis Vocal has been a problem for you for a long while, it sounds like to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And during Emma's case, did you discuss with your caseworker or your therapist the problems that you were having with Lewis Vocal?
Some of it, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Thank you. Ms. Vocal, do you also understand that Abigail shares your opinion regarding Lewis Vocal
That she does not want him around.
and that she thinks he's a problem?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. if I also remember right, it sounds like after the removal of Emma that you were still having trouble with your depression and some of the meth pill issues continued for a little while, right?
Yes, it actually, I mean, that was very hard. Yes.
But now you're clean, as evidenced by
Absolutely.
your recent health test. Okay, thank you. Now, you had said that you had been reaching out for help regarding your concerns, and I believe primarily it sounds like your depression, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the therapist. And so you started with the therapist. How many sessions were you having, and how often?
Well, I started with one therapist, and then her contract got pulled, so I had to start with another therapist. And I think we had 3 or 4 sessions, and it was supposed to be weekly, and I missed
Now-
3.
Okay. Now, is this the same therapist that you're going to go back to that you've talked about?
Okay.
I mean, is it? That's my
I'm
question.
sorry. I'm sorry. It broke
That's a
up just
bad
little
question.
bit.
Who was the therapist that you had a couple sessions with?
The first one or the most current one?
Most current one.
Cheryl Lane.
Okay. Is Cheryl Lane the counselor that they're trying to get you back with?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And Cheryl Lane, you understand that your therapy sessions with her were stopped because of, I guess, lack of attendance?
And attendance, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you feel like you could work with Cheryl Lane, that she could help you?
It's hard for me. I think she's wonderful. I think she could do, I think as professionally, she's amazing. Her and I click well together. It's hard for me when I want to work through issues. And if I bring something up like, well, this happened with Lewis, and then it gets talked about and used against me because I'm trying to heal from some of the things that happened to me, it is difficult for me to have the trust to fully open up to her. I want to. I think she's amazing. It's hard for me.
Well, what I'm getting at is I want you to get the help that you're saying that you want as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And what I'm getting at is you have not started back with Cheryl Lane, so I want to make sure she's a good match for you. And so
I think
if Cheryl would maybe not report verbatim what you're saying, do you feel like she would be a good therapist for you, or do you want to start with somebody new? That's what I'm getting at.
Wait a minute, Ms. Focal, before you answer that question, thank you for, I'm sorry, Mr. Howard, I'm not trying to divert you, but one of my questions I have written down is, I don't know where I heard this from over the years, it all runs together, but I didn't think that therapists like to go into 2 different therapists. I think that's sort of conflicting, and I'm sure we've heard that on a CPS case. And so I have a big concern. I mean, I don't know if Sherilyn Lane knows about Christy Leverett, or if Christy Leverett knows about Sherilyn Lane. Probably doesn't matter, because if she hadn't been going to Sherilyn Lane, it doesn't matter. But I don't think we need to be going to 2 therapists. And I mean, I would prefer that Ms. Vocal just, even, whichever case, Emma's, Abby's, whichever one, she signed a release. And if she's comfortable going to the Dove Project, like Ms. Miller said, we all like the Dove Project. It's reliable, dependable. Ms. Leverett's been around, we all lawyers know, for a long time. I'd rather her just sign a release and go with Christy Leverett. What do you think, Mr. Howard?
Judge, I don't disagree. What I'm trying to get at these questions is I want her to get therapeutic services that are going to help her, that she feels comfortable with. I did recognize that might be an issue with the 2 therapists. And so I don't really care who she's getting therapy from, as long as it's helping her. And it sounds like she has a concern about her relationship with the therapist. And so that's all. I think that needs to get settled today, where she's going to go.
And also, I'm concerned about her time. If her time's an issue, her driving is an issue that we've heard about, how are you going to be able to bop here and bop there? And it sounds, I got it if you're being treated, one for PTSD and another one for addiction, but Ms. Vocal's kind of she's got mental health, she got postpartum, she got family violence victimization, she got, obviously there's some drug and alcohol, drug history. Not history, drug issues, or because we're here. But it sounds to me like Christy Leverett hopefully is able to address all those things. So we need to find out about that too, Mr. Howard. But okay, yeah, go on. Good point.
Well, I'll move on. You answered my questions probably better than we were doing, so thank you. So Ms. Vocal, let me go back to August 2023, when CPS was involved. When CPS removed Emma, did you believe that your home in that current situation was a safe place for Emma?
No, but that was one of the worst days of my life. It was hard. Like I always had her. She was always right here. So selfishly, I wanted her with me.
Okay.
But no, I would say no.
Ms. Vocal, I'm going to ask you probably another tough question. Do you believe in August 2023 that home was a safe place for Abigail?
No.
Okay. But jumping forward, do you believe that your home now is a safe place for Abigail?
Yes.
Now, in your CPS case, you had a very structured service plan. Let me ask you about some of that. You were assigned to do an OSAR or substance abuse assessment. Did you do that?
I have not gotten any information about that. I'm not sure where to go. Am I supposed to Google it? I mean, I haven't really received a whole lot of instruction on it. I still don't know where to go. I don't know what to do with that.
So you're willing to do that if necessary. You just feel like CPS hasn't helped you with that.
Well, I mean, I assume that's who should have been guiding me on it. Yes.
Right. Parenting classes, I think you agreed to do those. Have you done that?
I have not. I've done them in the past voluntarily with friends, but and I loved them. I would gladly do that again.
Okay. You were assigned a psychological evaluation. You did complete that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you are now with a doctor and are getting prescription medication for your depression.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And one thing that's not on your service plan, but sounds like it probably should have been, and now is an issue, Lewis Vocal is removed from your life. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, but Lewis Vocal and you were together up until January 20th, 24?
No, we had been separated since November.
Okay. Where are you living? Okay. Where are you living now?
And I know he was getting mail there. He put his mail there because he was kind of bouncing around.
Okay. So you have moved from the house that you were sharing with Lewis Vocal. Is that correct or incorrect?
Yes. I moved and got my own house.
Okay. And when did you move and get your own house? A few weeks before the incident on 1/19/2024?
I think it maybe 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, about a month. I was there about a month, maybe a little less.
Okay. And so when you talk about your house now being a safe environment for Abigail, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you're saying, test and clean on my drug testing, excuse me.
Yes.
I've got my own house. I've got my own vehicle. I'm working. I'm in a lot better place, right?
Yes, sir.
And that Lewis Vocal is out of the picture.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, a couple questions about some time periods. The incident with Lewis Vocal that put him in jail happened on 1/19 or 1/20/24. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And part of your determination that it's safe for Abigail is that Lewis Vocal's locked up, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was very, very helpful, but it was mostly I'd like to have a protective order and for him to just not be allowed anywhere near.
Okay. So, but that's when it became safe.
Yes.
You'd agree with me. It's not safe if this guy's coming, knocking, busting in your door, making terroristic threats, those type of things.
No, that is not safe.
Okay. And so it was the very next day that you went and picked up Abigail? It was 1/21/2024, wasn't it?
It was either the next day or I think it was maybe the next day that she called and was like, "Mom, I'm done. Come get me. I've had enough."
Okay. Now, that incident, you understand, is why we're back here with Abigail. It's why CPS is involved and we're having this hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so do you think it's reasonable that the day after Lewis is removed from the home that you go and pick up Abigail? Do you think that was a reasonable decision?
I would say no, but my intentions were to go that weekend.
Okay. Are you surprised that based on that event that CPS is now back involved?
I'm not surprised they were called. I'm surprised she was removed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Adrian. I don't have any further questions.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any for Ms. Vogel?
I have
one.
a couple of questions. Redirect, please.
Okay, Mr.
Yes,
Hale,
just a few.
hold on, Ms. Miller. Mr. Hale. Oh, no, you called her. No, he called her. Sorry, she's
called
been
her.
going so long.
I called her. I don't have any questions.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, Ms. Miller, and I have a lot of questions. So, and they're all
Okay.
over the place based on everything y'all have asked. No rhyme or reason like y'all. So go on, Ms. Miller. Maybe that'll answer some of mine.
I don't have many. Ms. Vogel, we always knew that there was a risk in you going and exercising your rights under your lawful court order, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, but in order for a child to be removed, the department has to swear that the child is in immediate danger, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And was the child, Abby, in immediate danger on January 24th of 2024?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you understood and knew that that was the standard for removal, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many caseworkers have you had in the Emma case?
I think 3 now.
Okay. So we've gone through a lot of caseworkers in Mills County. Unfortunately, we have the excellent Maria Henry helping us these days. Did you start out with Toby?
Kelly.
You started out with Kelly. That's right.
Yes.
Okay. So you started out with Kelly and then she had to take medical leave, correct?
I just know leave. I didn't know why, just leave.
Okay. And then who was your next worker after that?
Jessica Mystic? Jessica?
Okay. Where did Jessica go?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay.
She was there and then she was gone.
How long did you have Jessica as your worker?
2 or 3 weeks, maybe.
Okay. And then you got Miss Henry, correct?
Yes, ma'am, Maria. Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been with Miss Henry?
3 weeks.
Okay. How do you feel like your communication with her is?
I think she's wonderful, really. I have nothing but good things to say about her. I think our communication is great. It's
Okay.
well, I mean, it could be more, but I mean, I'm sure she's busy. I don't know.
Well, you're not our only case, and you understand that, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so if you need to take an OSAR evaluation, do you know what OSAR stands for?
No.
Okay.
No,
Do you know what it's for?
It's for some sort of, it's something to do with drugs and like maybe classes or something. I'm not sure. It's something to do with drugs.
Okay. All right. Well, we can safely say that SA is for substance abuse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you need to go to an OSAR assessment, would you reach out and contact Miss Henry and be proactive on that in the Emma case?
I can do that. Yes.
Okay. All right. And so part of your reason for seeking out Miss Leverett is because of the confidentiality that you get with Miss Leverett, correct?
Yes. I really don't want to. I want my confidentiality there.
Okay. And so if there was a system of Miss Leverett verifying your attendance but not regurgitating the substance of your counseling session, would you feel comfortable continuing with Miss Leverett?
Yeah. I will say yes, but it is something I'd like more time to think about it, but will give a tentative yes.
Okay. No further questions. Okay. Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anybody else have any questions?
Judge, I have a couple of follow-ups that I really just kind of forgot to ask, but they'll be quickly.
That's okay.
Ms. Vogel, is your counseling sessions with Ms. Leverett, are they Zoom or are they in person?
They have been in person and they have been on the phone.
Okay. So they've been both?
They've been both, yes.
Okay. And your visits currently, just thinking for the future, okay? So currently, how often do you have visits with Emma?
It's kind of sporadic. If I have to go do a test or have to go to Lampasas for some reason, for instance, yesterday I had a visit with Abby. I got a visit with Emma too afterward. And so pretty much anytime I'm in the area, or sometimes Sarah comes down here, like some weeks she comes down here and spends the whole day with me. Some weeks I go up there and spend the whole day. And it's just when our schedules line up and when we both have time, I mean, we try to do it as often as possible.
So is it whenever you and Ms. Harriman can agree on them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And since we've been formally in Abigail's case, how often have you visited her? Is it once a week?
It's, I mean, I get to, like, Randy stipulated that I had to be supervised with her. So it was when she was with my parents, at least once a week. I normally would get to see her. Some weekends I wouldn't get to, but I know she was at Sarah's house a lot to get to see Emma. And so I'd see her there when I got to see Emma, and we'd have time.
But currently, since CPS is involved, what is your visitation schedule? What have they set up for you?
I just right now with Abby, I just have once a week for an hour at the Lampasas office.
Okay. And it sounds like Emma's placed in Lampasas, is that right?
She's in Copper's Cove.
Okay. So it sounds like you try to work in a visit with Emma when you've gone down there for the visits with Abigail.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want them together.
Right. No, that's fine. I just want a baseline. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Ms. Vocal?
Yes. Let me find your picture.
Remind me again when it was that Lewis took the truck and that situation.
Oh, when I left in the truck?
Yeah, that's right.
That was a couple days. I think it was a couple days before CPS was called.
And when was that? Give me I only have Abby's file. I don't have Emma's.
CPS, I think, came somewhere between the 15th and 17th. Those are the numbers that I seem to be remembering. So maybe the 13th or 14th of August.
Okay, I'm looking at David. Yeah, it's about right. Let's see. Yeah, they received a complaint or whatever, a call on the 17th.
So it was a day or two before that.
Okay.
Couple days, 2-3 days.
So was Abby living in y'all's house then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What type of summer visitation did she have with her dad last year?
He's supposed to have July. I think she went a little early and they went to New Mexico. So she went a little early. She was with him part of the summer. She does not like to stay the whole month. So we typically just work it out over the summertime. And I give him extra days. I think that's what we did last year. Especially with Emma being born. You know, she was with Sarah Harriman. We call her Aunt Sarah. She was with Aunt Sarah, with her dad, with my parents, you know, during the hospital, and just toward, you know, when Emma was first born, and just she was kind of slowly coming back home a little more and more. The end of my pregnancy, I was on full bed rest. I wasn't able to get up and cook and clean like I normally would. So she was spending a little more time with my mom and Sarah, because they were kind of helping me out. Because I couldn't move. I couldn't walk without a contraction. So he last year, sorry.
Go on. So she just kind of goes whoever is available or wherever she wants to go during the summer, right?
Yeah, she has a bedroom at Sarah's house. She has a bedroom at my parents' house. She's got a bedroom at Randy. Like, everyone's always like, okay, we want time with Abby. Everyone wants time with Abby. She's kind of a big deal.
So remind me where Sarah lives.
Sarah's in Copper's Cove.
Okay. Okay. How old are you now, ma'am?
I am celebrating my 7th anniversary. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 36.
Okay.
Or 29 for the 7th.
The house where Lewis kicked the door in, is that where was that y'all's marital residence?
No, our marital residence was 710 Reynolds Street.
Okay, what was this house? Somewhere had you moved into this house, or what was
this? This house is the house I moved into.
The new house.
The new house.
Or new location.
Yes.
When did you move there?
I'd only been there about probably a little less than a month.
Okay. So let's say January 1st-ish. Christmas.
Yeah, no, I was there for Christmas. Because I remember I didn't have a tree up and I was a little, yeah. So yes, I was there. I think that was the week I'd moved in.
Okay. What precipitated you moving from the marital residence to a new house?
I had left in late October and moved in with my brother, because I did not want to reside with Lewis anymore. I was trying to get away from him as much as possible. And so I wanted my own residence. So I moved in with my brother until I could get this house.
Okay, so when do you think you moved from the marital residence to your brother's?
October, end of October.
Okay. Is that around the time he made you take those pills?
No, it was worse than that. He had given me something to make me sleepy, and then he actually injected my arm with a needle. And I went to the hospital.
Okay. And that's when you said, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did you ever, when CPS first got involved back in August of 2023, what did you say to Mr. Cavazos about why CPS was involved in your life and why he needed to take Abby?
I don't remember. I think I had a brief conversation with him outside the day it was happening. And there hasn't been really a whole lot of open communication with him since then. He yelled at me and I told him I was sorry.
Did you tell him that Abby was coming to live with him, or did the investigator?
No, he was just there. Randy was just there. I believe because it was actually Sarah Harriman that called CPS and she called Randy. And so they all showed up. Or maybe Sarah, because I told Sarah when the investigator was getting there, and then she called Randy, and like Randy showed up and Sarah showed up, and there was just people there. I didn't call him. I don't know if CPS called him. I don't know. I believe it was Sarah that called him actually, and he came to my house that day when the investigator was there.
Well, don't you think he has reason to be justified by yelling or just his?
Oh yeah.
Down?
Yeah, no, that day certainly he was justified to yell, and all I could do was apologize to him.
Because before that, y'all had a good working visitation relationship, right?
Yes. He deserved an apology for me.
Okay. Since, let's just say August, Abby went to live with Mr. Cavazos, what type of visitation have you had with Abby?
I haven't had any overnights. I get to see her at my parents' house. Well, no, I did get one at my parents' house where she stayed the night there and I stayed the night there. And so it's pretty much just when she's with my parents or with Sarah, I get to see her.
And how did y'all work that out?